This is the video for the red light game. Here in the blue note box it says you are to minimize the average time for vehicles to be served. A vehicle's service time starts when it enters the area and ends when it leaves the area. You can change the average by changing the length of time the light is red in each of the two directions. To change the times, click on Lights, brown box at upper left, then click on the number to be changed. Well, down here is the brown box that says Lights. I'm going to click on it. Now we have a new blue note box that says enter the length of time the light is to be red for each of the two directions, west to east and north to south. The higher the value, the longer the light will be red. This does not include the free left turn time. If the time is too short or too long, the vehicle queues become longer and cause the average to increase. The free left turn light stays green until there are no more vehicles in the left turn queue. The average time for each lane is displayed. If the time is high, you can adjust the red times to lower it. When you change the frequencies, the game changes. Then you must adjust the red times for that game. Well, here is where you adjust the red times. You click on a digit and use the keyboard to change it. Right now, we're just going to return and go back to the game and its notes. Here's where we left it. It says, next, the game is defined by the probabilities for vehicle size, vehicle spacing, and vehicle turning. Click on Next to go to the next note. Well, I'm going to click here on Next. Here it says to change the game probabilities, click on Frequencies, the brown box center left, over here. If the frequencies are changed, the game changes, so the game will be restarted when return is clicked. Alright, well, let's go down here and click on that brown box. Now we find another note in the blue note box. You can change the frequencies for the occurrence of different size vehicles, cars, trucks, and trailers. A larger vehicle takes more space on the road and it cannot accelerate as fast as a smaller vehicle. The higher the frequency value, the more likely that vehicle will be randomly selected. The frequencies can be entered for each lane. The lanes have different colored vehicles. And here we see the columns are different colors for the different lanes. The probability of a particular selection is its frequency divided by the sum of the frequencies. Alright, well, let's look down here at the vehicles. It says it can be a car, a truck, or a trailer, and it can be in each of the different lanes from the light blue one to the dark red lane. Here we see for the light blue lane, there's for 10 cars or 10 trucks and 10 trailers, which is a total of 30, the probability of a car is 10 over 30, or 1/3 of the time. And that's true for trucks and trailers, and that's also true for every one of the lanes. Next it says click on Next for the notes on spacing between the vehicles. Well, I click Next. Here's another note. You can change the frequency for the occurrence of different spacing between the vehicles from 40 to 85 feet. Well, here we see spacing, and we see 40 to 85 feet. A smaller spacing means more vehicles will enter the lane. A larger spacing means fewer vehicles. The higher the frequency value, the more likely that spacing will be randomly selected. The frequencies can be entered for each lane. The lanes have different colored vehicles. The probability of a particular selection is the frequency divided by the sum of the frequencies. Well, let's go down here and see spacing. And here we see it from 40 to 85 feet. But this time they're not all the same. 40 feet has a frequency of 10. 85 feet has a frequency of 1. It's 10 times more likely to pick 40 feet than it is 1 feet. Well, 85 feet, I mean, because it has a 1. Right now, all the lanes have the same probabilities for spacing. Then it says, click on Next for the notes on turning percentages right and left. Well, I click on Next, and here's a new note. You can change the percentages for right and left turns. Well, down here we see turning percentages. Right turns can only be made from the right lane. Left turns can only be made from the left lane. Oh, that makes sense. The higher the frequency value, the more likely that the vehicle will be randomly selected to turn. That should have said the percentage, and also this next one should say the percentage can be entered for each lane. The lanes have different colored vehicles. And next it says the percentage is the probability of the vehicle in that lane turning. The vehicle color of destination. What that means is if you find a blue in the green area, you know he's going to turn. Alright. Now we're going to go back this way, but we're going to go back to the main screen again. Now we're back to the notes that we were at the beginning. Next says, click on Restart, brown box upper left, that's here, to set the game's lane counters back to 0. Here are the counters over here for vehicles, and then it shows the average time. The game counters are used to calculate the average time for each lane and the overall average. And down here we can see the overall average. And it says these values are shown at the upper right. That's here. Excuse me. The background color indicates the lane. Here you see the light blue through the dark red lanes. Then it says click on Next for the next note. I'll click on Next again. It says the size of the vehicle denotes its type, car, truck, or trailer. And here you can see there's different sizes. The vehicle's color denotes its destination. Well, you'll see that if the color doesn't agree with that lane, and here it shows the colors, that means it's going to turn either left or right when it gets to the intersection. See, a vehicle that is not the color of the lane's destination is going to turn onto the lane with that color. The clock time used for timing is shown at the upper right, over here. 1 tick of this clock represents 1 second, and you see it's flying through the numbers. The counters will not start until 100 vehicles have entered the area. It will say restart wait down here instead of giving you the average. Alright, that's the end of the notes for red light. Now we're going to click on Program in the red stripe to go look at the programs for the red light game. Program. Here is the main program. This is the instruction listing of it. Over here we see that there's not only a main program, but there's 4 sub-programs. Up here on the top, we could click this blue box and go back and execute the game again. Or we could save this application to one of the letters A through T, and then you could make changes to it and then run it yourself. You can create a new application, you create a new subprogram, and the rest of these blue boxes are for copying and pasting instruction lines from within this application or game into another application or game if you want to. Down below here are the brown boxes, which give you tools for listing the values, the text, naming things, naming the programs, naming the variables, comments, captions, displaying the registers, telling you about control registers, ASCII color, tools that you'll need when programming. And below that, there's a list of YouTube videos about building an app, creating it, saving it, copying, making changes, and actually building an HTML file for your application. Below that, it says, click for example routines to view, change, and copy. It will take you to an app that has examples of the actions used in this P code. And if you look over here where we said the main program is, these lists of instructions, it has a column here called actions. And in that column is names of the actions that it's taking. Then below there, this is a list of the HTML5 P code YouTube videos that explain how to program, about the instruction lines, the lists, the page text, green lines, which are copying lines, the comments, the ASCII and colors, videos about how to program in this P code. Now I'm going to go up here and I'm going to go back and execute the application. Going back to the game again. Here we are, exactly where we left off. On the bottom of this screen it says we can start an app. Remember I said you could save it to any of the letters A through T. After you saved it, you can always come back here and rerun it the way you saved it. That is, you made changes to it, you saved it under one of these letters, you can come here then run it. Below that, there's a list of HTML5 P code apps, and including now is the one called Zredlight. Alright, this is the end of the video on the Zredlight game.